Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Backstage Pass Podcast session. It's the second one. The first one dropped recently. It exploded, millions of views. We have groupies, we have sponsors lining up. No, we don't. Only a handful of people watch, but we don't care because it's ultimately about the stories. Yes, the purpose of Backstage Pass is for us as event industry folk to share our stories with you. Most importantly, we want to share our stories with the youth coming into this industry because people join with certain expectations and those expectations aren't always met. So we decided, you know what, let's share the stories so that people can realize that certain things take a lot of time. Certain things cause a lot of trauma. And overall, the only option we have is to share those stories and ultimately laugh about it. So today's guest, the poor man, I have been sending him up and down through our office trying to find a space for him to dial in and assist. Every single space he's been in wasn't good enough. He always has to deal with my stupid requests. When I have a crazy idea with any innovation project, I run to him and I say, bro, what are you doing? And how can I make your life miserable? Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Andre Schoeman. Yeah. Our very own Timo Sheen Jason Statham. Welcome, Andre. Thank you very much for your time. I know that you guys are busy. I find myself in a hotel room in Dubai, not on holiday, suffering in a different kind of way, but I know that you guys are swamped and it's ultimately chaotic. But Andre, so throughout your entire career, you started out in Joburg, you found your way to Cape Town, the industry kicked you on your ass in Cape Town, then COVID kicked you on your ass in Cape Town, and then multimedia kicked your ass all the way back to Joburg. Share with the people what you do, Andre.
So I work at multimedia, obviously. I am a project manager / technical specialist. Started out doing sound. Now I do more audio visual kind of stuff, handling LED screens, media servers, that kind of stuff. But I play in the experimental side of the company. So, doing weird and wonderful. How can we make magic, basically? So I'm playing with tracking, whether it be triggering of weird and wonderful things. Yeah, it's the out of the box, out of the normal kind of stuff. That's where I enjoy life.
Now, Andre, I obviously, as mentioned in the previous session, send out this questionnaire and I ask you guys certain questions just so that we can be prepared a little bit. And one of the first things that I ask you guys is give a word that defines your career so far. And your word is a perfect word because you've been all over the place. And your word is evolutionary. Share with the people how or what it means to be evolutionary, like a freaking Pokemon going all the way from a Charmander through all 7,000 evolutions to where you are today.
Yeah, so I mean, like the word revolutionary popped into my head, but I'm not French, so I thought that wasn't quite apt. So I thought evolutionary might be better. Started out, like I said, doing sound. I was a backline tech. That's actually where I started out in the industry, just a stage prawn, running cables and that kind of stuff. Moved on to doing actual sound. Spent most of my life in the monitor land world for my sins. That's why I've got no hair left. Then it changed, like when COVID hits and everything, obviously that changed my life completely because being down in Cape Town, so I was a freelancer for a long time in Joburg, then I moved out to Cape Town, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, the whole COVID thing hit quite hard. And then I really had to change how I see the industry and what I do in the industry because there was a lot of need for more the streaming side of things and the audio visual side of things. So during COVID, I decided, you know what, let's see what we can do. There was a lot of guys we were working with that were VMix technicians that said that things couldn't be done. I don't like it when people say things can't be done because there's got to be a way. So I started playing around with more AV world, and from there, it kind of spiraled into this monster that we are working with today. So yeah, it's kind of just everything just constantly changing. Bigger.
It's when I reflect back on your journey, so I first met you, like actually having an interaction with you was when you were part of the Cape Town team. And then we started having these conversations of, we think you need to come up to Joburg and come and help us with all the innovation projects and trying all these different cool new things. And looking at the growth and the change that you've gone through and the evolutions that you've gone through is quite insane, because you arrived, yes, as a AV engineer that have gone through like this transition of COVID, but then suddenly you had all these cool new toys that you've never had your hands on. And I was just like, yo, brother, this is the idea, make it work. And in between everything, you had to figure out how to freaking build your own controllers and find links between different software and triggers and things. And I think it's quite a special journey to reflect on over the years. But most importantly, your route in this industry, I think, follows the same journey as a lot of ours. Where we pick up a guitar early in our childhood and we're like, you know what, I'm going to be a muso. And then we realize we're not going to be muso. So we all start joining metal bands. And then that goes even more south. And then you usually end up at a certain institution. And I made my way through, like Fawny's journey was he started in school. I had a brief dabble at school, and then I found my way into church, doing audio at church. And I know that you followed the same journey. Share that story with us.
So, yeah, I mean, I was in high school for 15, 16 years old. Picked up a bass guitar. I didn't even play guitar. I played bass, so it's even worse. And so I picked up a bass guitar. Like a couple of mates said, no, listen, we want to start a band, but we need a bassist. I was like, oh, is it hard? There's only 4 strings. How hard can it be?
With a pick. Doom, 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 doom.
No, exactly. And then the church I was part of at the time, I started playing in the worship band, and there was nobody to push the buttons, nobody behind the sound desk. So I was like, again, how hard can it be? It seems like there's a trend there. Like, how hard can it be? And
Yeah, how hard can it be? You're 21 years old and flourishing. Clearly, we can see it.
Exactly. I mean, it's not stressful at all. So I started doing sound at the church as well, and that I enjoyed it. It was actually like, it was a lot of fun. Then it's weird. I remember I was sitting at the Wimpy, and there was an advert. I can't remember. It was on like a piece of paper or something like that. We still actually read it off paper back then. It wasn't all on phones. Yeah, I was like old. So there was like a paper advertisement for the Academy of Sound Engineering. So I was like, let's see what that's about, because who knows what you're going to do with the rest of your life. So I joined the academy. I was there for, I think it was a 2-year course or a 3-year course, can't remember. 2-year course back then. And halfway through my second year, I started freelancing for a few different companies. And by I didn't even finish the course. I ended up going on the road. Yeah.
Well, that's a surprise. I'm gonna have to get HR to go through your file, dude.
I mean, yeah, it was funny. It was like my whole class, the whole live class of the year, was asked to go on tour with Gladys Knight. So we were like, I don't know, let's do it. Sounds good. And none of us wrote our final year exams, and it was chaos.
So obviously, with going through a tertiary education, usually in your first year, you start finding out about the various different festivals that appear throughout the year in South Africa, and a lot of us ultimately end up like that. Most likely is our first real work experience. The hours are grueling. The payments are not enough to survive. Non-existent. But all of us like form these very deep and meaningful relationships with a lot of people at these festivals. And a lot of times we meet guys that we work with for decades, or we meet mentors in between all the different people there. But I know that it's difficult to stand out at a festival such as Ka, and that sometimes you need to make an entrance so that people know exactly who you are. How about you share with us your entrance at Ka, Andre?
There might have been a rigging rope and a trolley involved. It was on the one, it's the kickoff night before the actual festival starts. They have all the crocodile are there, and they all looking at the stage and everything. And myself and a few of my colleagues at the time,
Your entourage.
my entourage, there's two gentlemen in particular that were quite large influences in this. Henning Smith and Clinton Hutton. If you've heard those names before, you will understand why I was saying it the way I'm saying it. Yeah, we ended up going down Oudtshoorn Main Road, towing a trolley behind one of the vehicles. I might have been in that trolley at the time that we were towing it, that we pulled into the Feesterrein main stage in front of Kappie and all the other people there. But I can't confirm or deny that it actually happened, but that's what they say. That's what they say.
Yeah, that's what they say. None of us actually saw it happen. Even though there were quite a few of us there, no one saw it happen. We're just well aware that this story is circulating throughout the industry. But then at Ka, like I know a lot of us have built up a sense of respect, but also deep-seated trauma at Ka. And it's usually one of the first places where you also start to realize that nothing in this industry is normal, and the rest of your career is set for quite a chaotic, unique experience. When you reflect back on your festival, when did you realize that, oh my gosh, this is not going to be a normal career?
Sure. I remember the one Ka. I rocked up there. Like I was about a good 40 kilograms lighter than I am now. This skinny little snot-nosed kid out of college, not knowing anything. And I walked in, and there was this he had this massive personality by the name of Jonathan Green. He still had a ponytail back then and everything. He's not the biggest human being in the world, but he's got a presence. I mean, he's a big person, you know. And we started rigging the KF850s. I mean, one box was like double my weight. It was something I hadn't experienced before in my life. And there was cable issues or something like as we were writing the PA up. And he says, just climb the boxes quickly and just check the cable. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, no, just climb up the handles and go check the cable, make sure it's plugged in properly. And I'm like, but I'm not getting this. I don't get what you're trying to say here. So yeah, I end up climbing a PA system randomly, and now that's normal. It's got to fix the stuff. It was very strange for me, but yeah.
With Ka, sitting now and thinking back to all the various memories, like I remember my very first year at Ka, Jonathan was there. I think he was part of like the audio support team if people had issues, and he would run between the different venues. And I don't know if I can say the phrase because it's a swear word, and I'm trying my best to keep these things clean. But it developed into this Russian accent thing where everyone started talking Russian on the radio, and when someone said phrase with a Russian accent, you knew that you had trouble. And it became such a massive thing that like we kind of all changed our behavior during this festival. Talking Russian. And it's such a unique, different time that when you think back on these things, it's a moment where you can discover yourself and you can start to do cool, different things. But not all of those experiences are always the best experiences. Like that exact Kaka and Ka. I was in a venue with Tiu Creer and Gustav. Now I'm blanking out what Gustav's surname is. But we were busy doing a turnaround for a show, and this old man comes in, and he's like, a guy just walked out of the venue with a backpack in his hand, and this old man is quite sure this guy didn't come in with a backpack. So we all run to FIH, check our bags, and I realize that my bag is gone. So I run out of the venue, and I see this dude just freaking sprinting down the main road in Oudtshoorn. And I start chasing him, and I see he drops my bag, and Gustav is just behind me. And I yell at Gustav, I'm like, grab the bag, I'm chasing this dude down. And as I sprint down the street, I'm lucky enough that a police car pulls into the road, and this dude runs into the side of the police car, and I grab him, and the police climb out, and they're like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, no, this dude stole my bag. And the guy's like, nee, dis myne. No, it's mine. It's mine. I'm like, bro, this is my bag. So like we start searching him because he took my stuff out as he was running. So we find my wallet on him, and he's like, no, it's mine. And we open up my wallet, and my license is in there, and he's like, no, it's mine. And I'm like, brah. And the police is like, brah. It's just like these core memories where you're like, what the hell? And then like the 1 year when we still had like crazy load shedding, as the sun would start to set, these people would like come out of the neighboring townships and like wait for the lights to switch off. And when it goes to blackout, you just hear people screaming because they're being mugged. And it was like such a wild time. And now we're all in corporate, and we're like, cool, sweet. Life has gone on. Life is a lot more relaxing. Like, well, it's still traumatizing, but not as chaotic as it was back then. But in between all these things of backpacks being stolen and being pulled down streets on the back of a trolley that never happened.
You actually, can I interrupt you quickly? You actually spotted something that I remembered now. It was my first car that I ever did. And like, I didn't know what I was getting into, and it was chaos. So I'm on the bus. I actually took the bus, the crew, the technical bus down to Oudtshoorn. I'm sitting at the back of the bus, and there was this one loud, large Afrikaans guy. And I'm sitting, I'm watching this guy. I'm like, no, dude, I can't deal with this. This is too much. Please, I just hope this oak's not in my venue. Walk into my venue. True as nuts. Guess who my lighting guy is? Herman Vessels, the large, loud Afrikaans guy. I mean, and like from that day forward, listen, we became like big mates after that. Like we kind of understand that the loud was just how he is. But I'll never
Part of the package.
Yeah. We might have been partying a bit late, and we get to our venue pretty much straight from the pub type thing. Like Hong Kong, like back in those days, was the technicians were out of hand. They were completely out of hand. And I jump off the back of the bucky, and Herman's got like all his kit bags and all his kit with him and stuff like that. And he decides he's going to step out, not climb out. He steps out of the bucky, but like his foot hooks on the lip, and he just goes nose plonk into the pavement, flat. Busts his whole face open, there's blood everywhere. And I'm like, oh no, this would just die. And I mean, if you know Vessels, like he jumps too sweet. He's like, no, I'm lekker. And he just goes inside. I was like, what the hell just happened? They're crazy people. They're absolutely crazy people. Like solid.
Yeah, while you were talking about stepping out of the bucky, I had this flashback. I don't know if you were there, But one of our mates who also used to be part of the multimedia team was driving down the main road, and a guy ran over the street and he hit him in the main road. And I know like some of the other multimedia team members had to go and help, and it was such a chaotic scene because you're dealing with all these Afrikaans folk coming to the festival. Then you have the technicians coming in to come and work on the festival. And then you have all these other people that come in to like find opportunity to either do a side gig or a hustle or to mug someone. And then they're usually the ones that get hit by cars in the main road. And everyone is just like, what the hell is going on with all of these things? But yeah, it's overall, it's good times. I had great memories. I had rough memories, long days, brutal days, cold nights, hot days, everything in between. But moving on to a more recent time, reminiscing here about the good old days. Not everything is always sunshine and roses, and we experience a lot of challenges, sometimes day to day, sometimes every now and again, but every so often something crosses our paths where you're like, this is the absolute worst thing that can happen to me. What is the absolute worst moment you've had at an event?
So I think people that know me know that I don't necessarily pull punches. I call a spade a spade. And a lot of people misunderstand that. But having said that, I always push to get whatever it is. I've never backed out of an event before. I did an event where I think it was last year before last. And it is the first time in my career that I was packing my bags and walking off site. It was the most rude client I've ever worked with in my entire life. We deal with a lot of interesting personalities in this industry. We deal with a lot of people that are misunderstood, especially the technicians. I mean, technicians are like traditionally known as the scum of the earth. You know what I mean? We're like the dirty thing in the corner that nobody wants to talk. So we deal with a lot of interesting personalities. And I've never in my life dealt with a company where the leadership of the company is, the only word I've got is disgusting. The way they treat their staff, the way they treat their people, the way they treat the people they bring on board. Our sort of intermediate clients, so not the end clients, our direct clients. She was in tears at one point, and she was, I think, about 3-4 times. She grabbed me by the shoulder to sit me back down and said, "Please, just don't leave." Because I was walking out, I was ready to walk out. So we deal with some really hard people, and I mean, it's like, unfortunately, it is part of the game. But get awesome people as well.
Yeah, like it's like even with the previous podcast session, like it's not every single day. The sad thing is you might repeatedly hit some kind of project or multiple projects where you're like, well, this is the worst. And then something like this comes along where you're so disgusted, or you get slapped. Who knows what can happen? And you're like, oh, wait, it can always get worse. And it's not the most bad thing that you can experience. Like, I've been screamed at and verbally abused, and you're just like, bro, I make lights go blue, I make lights go green. why are you treating me like this? But it's only when you get older do you start to realize that people are just people. We all have our own fears. There's a lot of stress on the line for whether it's end client or an event manager in between. Everyone wants to win, but not everyone has the ultimate ability to kind of deal with the stress and the fear and the pain. And I at least know that when the years pass, well, I hope when the years passed or the months passed or the week passed, people look back from these moments and they say, okay, cool, sweet, I handled that wrong. Potentially, hopefully, I can be better. because we all get older year by year by year, and we learn to become a little bit more mature. The majority of us. But we all have these cringy moments with ourselves that we can reflect on and look back to. Share a little bit about a cringy moment. I didn't know about this moment. And when I read your little feedback form, I was like, bro, this is cringe.
Listen, before I get into that, I must say that your previous podcast spoke about a cringy moment with a colleague of ours. I remember it intimately. I might have been there when it happened.
He called me today and he was like, just after the episode dropped, he's like, dude, you won't believe it. Andre was there the day I received my nickname. I was like, yeah, we're always together in some shape or form. One of us, like, you're there and you're like, wait, I saw that just like your entrance at Kaka and Ka. We, like, people saw it. People saw it.
No, so cringe moments, it's I'm not proud of it. It's like proper amateur hour full on. And unfortunately it hasn't happened once. Yeah. So like CEOs on stage and doing some and you're listening. No, I need to compress his voice a bit. It needs, it's missing some stuff. So you reach for the compressor, you activate the compressor and the mic goes there. And you're like, no. So I'm on the talk back and I'm screaming at the RF techs because the mic's gone dead and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, you look at the console and you realize that compressor that you just activated was a gate. Yeah, so that poor RF tech did absolutely nothing wrong. Yeah,
and you behave like those rude clients screaming and shouting, even though you're the problem, dear sir, you're the problem. So in between one's career, as you make the right decisions and you make bad decisions and you make stupid decisions, we start to learn from these different moments. And what would you say is the thing that you learn from not paying attention and putting a gate on a CEO's microphone?
Honestly, watch where you put your fingers. Like it's rule number one. There's more to that sentence, but I can't use it in this podcast. So like watch where you put your fingers, but also like you got to learn to trust your team. Like you build these people around you and the guys are professionals. They're getting paid to do a job. You know what I mean? And you need to learn to trust that these people are going to do the job and they're going to do it right. Because unfortunately, no man is an island. You're not going to be able to do the job on your own. Doesn't matter who you think you are and what skills you think you've got. There's going to be somebody out there that's going to either teach you something or help you get out of a very sticky situation. And if you treat people like dirt, they are going to treat you like dirt back. Like treat people with respect, the respect they deserve. You know what I mean? And be willing to listen because like everybody's got something to say. Obviously read between the lines because some people talk storm. Yeah, read between the lines. But like honestly, like I've had junior guys that have taught me things that like completely blew my mind. Where I was like, geez, like I didn't know that was even possible. And then you get obviously the old dogs in the industry that teach you every day. Like be willing to listen and trust your team. Like you have to trust your team.
So you are quite a senior person at multimedia, not just at multimedia, overall in the industry. Like you've been around, you've experienced different things, you've done things that no one else has done or tried to potentially do, and that kind of puts you in the spotlight to take responsibility for a team, younger folk, perhaps up to senior people that's just a little bit lower down the hierarchy chain, if you will, and you have to lead these people and you need to make decisions on behalf of these people. What would you say is the hardest part of leading within this industry that no one really prepares you for or warns you about?
That's a difficult one. I think, like I said earlier, like there's a lot of very different personalities in this industry.
Mm.
There's a lot of different people from various backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, religious backgrounds, etc., etc., etc. It's understanding people, and it's understanding that people are people. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like you're dealing with all these different types of people, and you cannot paint everybody with the same brush. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? You need to be like, whether you're the project manager on site or whatever it is, you need to be adaptable and look at it and say, listen, I understand the skill set of this person and use them effectively. Don't throw people into situations that they can't handle. You can test people but always be there as support. You know what I mean? And the big thing is, like I said, you've got to trust your team. You know what I mean? Like there's people that are hired in to do certain jobs that will probably know more than you. It doesn't matter how senior you are. They will know more than you in certain things, and you need to learn to trust and listen to what they have to say. And it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter where they come from. Somebody can teach you something. And if you walk around with that sort of a mentality, understanding that there are people that can do the job, trust them, let them do the job. Obviously, managing the personalities and stuff like that. I think that's one of the ways that you can get forward with this.
Yeah, as you were talking about people being different, yes, 2014, I think it was. I was doing lighting at Oude Libertas Amphitheater, outdoor venue in Stellenbosch, and we had this Japanese dance crew come through. Now, everything in the venue was generic lighting fixtures. It's outside. If it rains, the things need to survive. You ain't putting, well, back then, your Mac 250 or MX10 in the in the rain. You have your ancient Pocans and Fresnels that, like, those things will work forever. And this Japanese dance crew arrives. They come with their own crew, and we had a digital desk, but everything was still, like, because generics, into dimmers. And I showed their lighting tech. Old man, looks like Mr. Miyagi, long hair, wisdom beard, and I showed him like how to record the cues, and he's like, and plugs in or starts plugging out the dimmers, and I'm like, bro, like stop, no, this is not how we do it. You record it where you want it. Please don't repatch the stuff. And he's just doing whatever the hell he wants. Now I'm starting to get frustrated with this dude because I still have shows after their show, and I know I'm gonna fall. So eventually, Mr. Miyagi and I are screaming and shouting at each other. But like, I am going through every variation of English and Afrikaans swear word that I know, and he is going through every variation of Japanese swear words that he knows. Ruan Pretorius and their audio tech is sitting there like eyes this big watching these guys fight it out. And I'm just like, you know what, dude? Like, just do whatever the hell you want to do. I'm like, go and destroy your show. You know nothing. And I sit down in the venue like all freaking arrogant, and he's up there doing his thing. And the show starts, and the Ruan comes and sits next to me, and I'm like, are you about to watch this old man like completely fumble? And we're like, yeah. And he starts doing lighting with generic fixtures, and I'm like, good lord. This is not normal. Like, this is freaking insane. And I'm like super like instantly humbled by this old man because I knew better, because I can't speak to him. We're different. We speak different languages. And that night after the show, we stumbled into them at a restaurant, and he comes up to me and he has like these like minute cigarettes, and he hands me a cigarette like, no, we're making peace now. I'm like, okay, cool, sweet. Like, this is the first step to breaking down boundaries with these Japanese folk. And we sit down. They invite us to come and have dinner with them. And during the day, I heard them constantly yell. "Ododododo." So while they're sitting there, they go, "Ododododo." I'm like, whoa, stop. I'm like, "Ododododo." What does "Ododododo" mean? And the guy takes his bottle of beer and a glass, and he's like, "Ododododo." I'm like, oh, that means stop. So for like the next 4 days, Mr. Miyagi and I were like on the best wavelength because I at least knew how to get him to stop. I was just like, And it was one of the best memories I've ever created with the show because people were completely different than I am. They see the world differently, they operate differently, they do cool things. And if you just stop for a moment and listen and learn, you can actually start doing some epic things by just giving people a space to like be themselves. So in between, yeah.
Sorry, you sparked something now. Like you're talking about that sort of international language. Like I don't know if you've noticed how techies actually have a bit of a. It doesn't matter where they come from; they speak the same language. You know what I mean? Like I was doing it was a jazz event long time ago. I can't remember. And I was on monitors. Bernard Graham was on front of house, and not a single band rocked up for soundcheck, obviously. The one band that was performing was a 32-piece jazz band, Brazilian jazz band, full brass section, full rhythm section, but like keys, drums, bass, guitar, like alles, and then horns for dads. So nobody rocks up for sound checks. So I'm like, whatever, I place mics out, I get basic gain checks going and that kind of stuff. Just so I have something to work from. And their front of house engineer rocks up. But this is like audience in okay, not in room, like in the space. Like there's a couple of thousand people outdoor, and he starts unplugging all my microphones. So I'm like, oh, what are you doing? So he's like, no, he uses his microphones, cannot speak a word of English. Like they're Brazilian, you know what I mean? So like plugs in all his own mics, so my gain structure's out the window, so flatten everything as we go. And he didn't have enough time to run to front of house and run the show. So Bernard took over. He did front of house as he does. I mean, he rocked it like it normally does. And then I'm in monitor land, and I've got to translate. Well, this guy standing next to me, translating what they're saying to him into techie so I can understand what the hell's going on. So it's like a three-way communication. I'm like, I don't know, jumping around trying to get it going. But like halfway through, like what's the second or third song, the guy standing next to me jiving, he's having a time of his life. He's like, he was a short little dude standing next to me, standing to take with me and stuff. It was weird.
Having a fit, Joel.
Yeah.
We in 2020 we did this quite a big show in our studio. And was also an album launch for a very popular South African artist, and big band, backing vocals, quite a like amazing show. And during the show, he would see people that he knows and invite them onto stage, and they'd do a song together. And it's 2020, so people were like quite protective over their microphones, and he would just take his backing vocalists' mics and just hand it to people, and they'd sing and he'd give it back. And at one point, he calls this guy onto stage, and this dude starts singing, and we can't hear him. And we're like, what the hell is going on? So he has his own audio engineer, and I'm like, bro, what the hell? Like, unmute the microphone. And the dude's like, it's not one of our microphones. This guy came with his own freaking microphone that's not patched in. And he is singing up a storm on stage and no one can hear him. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, it makes no sense. I'm like, and you are like this famous muso who cruises around with his own mic that's not patched in. But yeah, like, chaos. But Andre, what skill matters most at events, during events, when you work on events that you can't necessarily learn in textbooks?
Problem solving, man. Problem solving. You can have all the skills in the book. If you don't know how to fix a problem, you can do absolutely nothing. Because we work in an industry of not if it's going to go wrong, it's when it's going to go wrong. It's just the way that the industry is. Something will go wrong at some point. And if you can't fix the problem, sorry.
Mm-hmm. I love this question because it often shows the lack that people, when they come into the industry, the skills that they still lack that actually justifies certain salary bands. And I think it's Simon Sinek. I can't remember where I heard this story, but he said that people aren't paid for their ability to control a ship in quiet water. They're being paid for their ability to control the ship in stormy weather. And when things are calm, it's easy to look sharp, man. And then when things start to unravel, that's usually when you see who is the expert and who has the ability to deal with certain things. And you don't wake up with that ability at 18 or 21-year-olds. Like it's experience that you need to build up. It's people teaching you hacks and tricks, and you making mistakes and hopefully realizing I should never ever 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 make that mistake again. And remembering it, because if you keep on making the same mistakes, you're not gonna move forward. Like, you have to get used to this thing of, okay, cool, sweet, I stumbled, I learned from it, I'm moving forward, and ultimately learn how to handle the pressure that starts boiling when things goes south. So how do you handle the pressure when everyone is looking at you for answers, everything is on fire, it is chaos? How do you process things?
It's duck on water. It's like you have to stay calm. You have to stay calm, even if it's just on the surface, and like the anxiety is building up, and you feel like you're about to have a heart attack, and veins bulging out the neck, and you have to stay calm. The calmer you stay, the calmer your team stays, the calmer your client stays, and the more it looks like you know what you're doing. Because let's be honest, like, a lot of the times you got to look like you know what you're doing, even though you're trying to fix the problem and you don't know where you're going. At least if you look like you know what you're doing, you're getting somewhere. No, you have to stay calm. It's just one of those things.
Years ago, 2021, we just came out of lockdown. Yeah, it's about a year after lockdown. I walk past the studio one afternoon. Team is busy prepping for a show that night. Show has their own show caller. So I just pop in, and I used to be stage manager or floor manager in the studio and just like call some of the shows. Like, I'm quite comfortable with it. Also did it in varsity. And the show caller at one point says, "Jesus, take the wheel," and he walks out of the venue. And the techs instantly turn to me because I'm standing there, and they're like, "Well, this is your problem now, dude. Like, you deal with this now." So I get a running order, and I sit with them, and I go through the entire running order. And I'm like, "Okay, cool, sweet. I'm quite comfortable to run this live stream." And I go into the office, and I hang around there. I talk to people, and I come back, and my running order is gone. And I'm like, "What the hell? Where the hell's my running order?" So I find one page in the dustbin, and the techs are like, "We have no idea where your running order is." So I look at the notes that they wrote down while I was giving everyone notes, and I'm like, this means nothing to me now. This means that, and the audience is walking in, like they're ready to start the show. And the MC was Bruce Whitfield and some other lady, I can't remember her name, also a journalist, but like excellent presenters. So I go up to them, I'm like, "Oi, my running order is gone. So let's just keep our eyes on each other here, and like we're just gonna like go with this show." And you sit down, you take a breath, and you're like, now it's Jesus take the wheel level now, and you just jump in and you gooi. And I remember after the show, because it also started raining, and back then the studios weren't soundproof yet because everyone turned their warehouses into studios, and the team inside the studio can't hear me. So you're like doing sign language to the MCs, just like go, get the show done. And I sat down afterwards when the show finished, like completely drained. And the client came up to me, and she's like, "That was excellent. The way you just stayed cool." Bruce Whitfield also came up to me, and he's like, "Well done, bro." Like, I could see like this chaos in your eyes when this thing started, but that ability to switch everything off that doesn't matter at that moment in time, and you just jump in and you do whatever the hell you need to do. But Andre, in between being a little ducky and staying calm above water, you also have various different hobbies. I know you do woodwork. Recently, you started finding your way into I don't even know what to call it. Knife making, knife baking, knife whatever, knife forging. There we go, knife forging. Finding your way into all these different things. You're building your own AV controllers when you have time by stripping other things apart. Um, you have all these unique skill sets. If you couldn't work in events, what career would you choose and why?
Um, it would probably be some sort of an engineering kind of vein. I love working with tech. I love working with gadgets. Making stuff work. Engineering is probably the only other industry that might have me. Um, but yeah, it would probably be some sort of engineering.
It's funny, like I always like to joke and say, "Yo, we're just a bunch of guys working with our hands," and then I see you working with your hands doing intellectual stuff, and then I'm like, "Yeah, he plays in a different kind of field there, man." Um, what do you wish someone had told you before you joined the industry? Some sort of wisdom or knowledge?
Um, Balance. Um, it's something I had to learn. It's something I'm still learning. I wish I learned it earlier. I'm married with 2 kids. You have to find balance. Like the industry is the kind of industry that'll take everything you give it.
Yeah.
And if you don't find balance, it'll take everything. Unfortunately, I know too many of my colleagues that have, marriages have dissolved and, divorced, kids don't want to talk to them and that kind of stuff. And it's because they just gave too much. They just didn't find balance. Coming into this industry, it's all about balance. You have to find that balance with your family and spend time with them. You know what I mean?
How do you find that moment of peace to focus on your family when you have the time to spend with them? Because obviously you're coming from this very high energy space, and oftentimes you're responsible for doing things that very few other people can do. Like we have a joke at Multimedia that says whenever Andre needs to do a keynote, his technology is going to break because he had some crazy idea the night before that Andre had to slash together at the last moment. And then it all works until I have to get on stage and then it doesn't work. And we're like, okay, cool, sweet. We learned our lesson. We know what we need to do and how to fix it. But then you still need to go home and kind of forget about those things. And I know you're extremely passionate about figuring things out and spending the time and energy to kind of build these unique concepts and technologies and things. How do you switch off to spend time with your wife and kids?
It's a hard one.
You just need to go and play and then you sit and you do your woodwork.
So you joke. I actually do. Like I've got about a little workshop on the side of my house there that kind of lock the door every now and again, just to like clear my head. It's a hard one, eh? And I'm exceptionally lucky that I'm married to the most amazing human being on the planet. And I can say it openly. I'm not scared who thinks what about it. I am married to the most amazing human being on the planet. My kids are a lot like me, which is scary. So they get it. And they give me a lot of grace. You know what I mean? Like getting like out of a stressful situation, you get home and they can see that it's like you overwhelmed and you need just that, you know what I mean? Like a little bit of calm.
Yeah.
And they give me that grace and I'm able to just get it out of my system and everything. And then when that's done and when my head's cleared and stuff, the big thing is you have to spend time with them. You know what I mean? It's something I'm still my son's 9, my daughter's 11, and I'm still learning how to spend time with them properly. You know what I mean? It's just, you got to constantly be growing and constantly make the effort to do it. And like I said, yeah, it's amazing people that actually that give me that freedom. You know what I mean?
One piece of advice for someone that is just entering the industry.
Learn to listen. I was gonna say don't, but just don't listen to me. I'm from the nonsense. it, like seriously, learn to listen. There's people that have been doing this for a lot longer than you. They've been through the trenches. There's guys that I've worked with for many years. When they open their mouth, I shut up and I listen. I mean, working with guys like Andre van der Walt, he's one of the OG sound guys, like Johannes Christel, Marius Maria, those kind of guys, like the OG sound guys that they built the industry. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And there's other guys, obviously, that even some of the younger guys, that really know what they're doing. I mean, Fani mentioned Gap at one point, like guys that have come up and they're doing the job. You know what I mean? So the younger guys that are coming into the industry, learn to listen, because if you listen, you will learn something. And understand that a lot of these grumpy old men around you are grumpy because they have to deal with people that are not listening to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's also not just listening, but also learning to ask the right questions and not to repeatedly ask something that someone has already taught you. Because we live in a time where it's so easy to say there is no stupid questions. Yes, there is no stupid question. Maybe once, pushing it maybe twice, but by the third time that you're asking the same question, I'm like, bro, you're about to get fafoed out of this place because this only has enough energy for one stupid question, and he has told you how to do this, why we do it. So ask the right questions and then listen to what the guys have to say to you. If you could go back in 10 years, what would you tell yourself?
Put your head down and keep going. Man. It's going to get better. Like going back 10 years, sure. I was freelancing back then. Life was not all sunshine and roses. It was hard. Getting through the day was rough because you're putting, again, stupid hours, and it's like never ever ending. And then it literally is just keep going. It does get better. I mean, you're not going to be loading trucks the rest of your life, but put in the hard yards and you're going to grow, you're going to get past it. So it is one of those, I would say, just keep persevering, keep your head going.
You don't load trucks forever if you develop your skills and experience. You're willing to do hard work, you deliver quality work, and you take on responsibility and you add value. And I think you're massive proof of that. Your skills and experience, just since moving back to Joburg, has immensely exploded because you have the opportunity to test new things. But you're also adding a lot of value and taking responsibility from myself, Jason, Fritz, and people to ensure that we ultimately end up doing what we need to do. But if I was you, and I could go back 10 years and tell myself something, I would most probably tell myself, check if the rope is long enough before you rappel out of the roof, bro. How about you share that little story with the people here today?
That's actually probably the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life, right? Standard Bank Arena, that roof's high. That roof is high. I thumb suck about 30 meters off the ground. Lifting the PA, so I was rigging, I was up in the beams, and PA is going up. PA gets about halfway and unplugs. The guys didn't take the cables properly. So now it's stuck. So somebody's got to go and fix the cable. Fix the PA system. So, I'm rigging, pull out my little figure eights and my rigging rope and jump over the side of jump off the beam, and down I go to the PA system, and I run out of rope. Lucky I realized before I came off the rope, but I ran out of rope. And I had to MacGyver a plan while I was mid-air, lassing ropes together, get my figure 8 over the knot and get it past, check tension, make sure that I wasn't going to fall in 15 meters and somebody has to clean me up with a spoon. Yeah, like it's literally take tension, start going down, fix the PA system, get it going, rappel the rest of the way to the floor. And like as my feet hit the floor, I'll sort of look up and my lack of intelligence hit me hard. It's probably the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. Yeah.
I had a realization now that this story you shared with me like a few weeks ago, I think it was. And like me knowing things about people, because you didn't put this story in the in your form replies, and knowing certain stories might come back to bite me in the ass, but people are gonna be like, I don't want to have a conversation with you on this thing because you're gonna go and say all the stupid shit that I did back in the day. And I'm like, but that's the purpose of this thing. Like we all make mistakes, potentially life-ending mistakes, and we don't want anyone to die. It's funny now. That's the big thing. It's always funny now. In hindsight, it's funny. But in the moment, it is not funny. A lot of times your boss or your line manager will almost attack you and beat you to death when they see what you do because it's risky. But Andre, as we start to wrap this up, I have a few rapid question answers for you that you are not prepared for, but they're fairly easy. You don't have to freak out. Early mornings or late nights?
Late nights.
Perfection or momentum?
Oh, that's a tough one. Perfection.
Big budget or small creative freedom?
I would go creative freedom.
And not then we don't have the money to do anything like always. That's exactly the world where they play in.
It's what I'm used to. That's why I answered it.
The worst advice you ever ignored, thankfully.
Worst advice I ever ignored. Probably go study something normal and get a normal job. Yeah, that's.
I was kind of hoping, like holding thumbs, that you'd say lift with your back, because Fonny said lift with your back. And I was like, if this is gonna be a trend, I'm gonna die with laughter. And then one word to describe the future of events.
Endless. Like it's, endless.
Perfect. Andre, thank you very much for your time. It is much appreciated. Thank you for sharing your stories with me on camera and behind the scenes, where we can all laugh about the stupid stuff that we've done over the years. If people want to reach out to you and connect with you, where can they find you?
I'm old. I don't have a lot of socials. I'm like on Facebook and like LinkedIn, and I'm oddly ever on LinkedIn. So yeah, I'm bad.
Let me know where's your PO box, and then the people can send you mail like the good old days.
Send my carrier pigeon.
Yeah. But ladies and gentlemen, if you stuck all the way through, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you again, Andre, for sharing your stories with us. If you are young, for coming into this industry, stay headstrong. Take the trauma, take the punches, put in the hard work, develop your skills and experience, provide quality of work, find some way to add value and take responsibility, and ultimately go on and do epic stuff like Andre. The journey is long, the journey is hard, but at the end of the day, it is massively rewarding. So on to the next one. Have a good one, and we will see you in the next episode. Okay, bye.